Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hugh Virtual Chat. Well, we got a bit of sad news today. We are going to be in code red until January 8th, 2021. We were looking so forward to finally leaving 2020, but hey, 2020 is getting to look a lot like 2021. But anyways, I just want to make a quick announcement though, as we're heading into the holiday season. There are so many people doing so many great things to make sure that people do celebrate Christmas and have a happy holiday. So a big shout out to Yvonne Peltier. For 25 years now, she has been working hard to make gift bags for the families who have babies in the neonatal unit at St. Boniface Hospital. She and a bunch of other nurses have been doing this for so long, actually handmade crafts for the little ones and really giving some cheer to the families that really desperately need to have some comfort, and especially this year with COVID. So Yvonne has been really busy because things have to be in the hospital 14 days just to sit there before they even get the gift bags together. And the deadline is this week, but you know what, folks? Cash donations or anything is really, Yvonne would be so grateful. So you can give her a shout at 204-253-1425 or email Yvonne at yvonne.peltier, and that's spelled Pelletier 204@gmail.com. So there are so many others that are doing so much great work. I suggest that maybe this year you show support to not only the local businesses, but also to the local charities. But there are some really fun things happening. So we're gonna have some fun today, and it is Christmas cheer. I asked all the ladies to bring their favorite holiday drink. It is 3:00 in Winnipeg, so we're okay now. Anyways, let's open the doors and invite all of our guests in for this Hugh Virtual Chat number 44. Hey, hi, Kirsten. Hi, Jordan. Lovely artwork behind you. Andrea, it's so nice to virtually meet you. Hello and welcome to the Hugh Virtual Chat. We will be having some more people coming in. I think Margot is around as soon as we get the screens up. Everybody, you're muted right now, so you just remember to unmute yourself. But anyways, everybody hear the news yet? I did. We're in lockdown until January 8th. It's like, oh my goodness, 2021 is not looking like the brand new year that we hoped it would be, but wow, there's so much, that we want to chat about. So I'm going to start first, though, with Andrea Lochhead, and she is a district vice president with Scotiabank. Amongst other things, she is really proud of a certain program that Scotiabank is putting forward. And I think, Andrea, when we were having the email conversation, the growing concern was definitely local businesses and especially the entrepreneurs. And, we had discussed too, just women getting a bank loan and even learning about finances. It still is foreign, and I'm one of them too. And, I was really impressed learning more about this women's initiative. So please, ladies, welcome Andrea to the talk. And Andrea, I'm going to let you talk about the women's initiative and everything that it involves.
Perfect. Thanks so much. It's great to be here and virtually meet you as well. Definitely, Scotiabank Women Initiative is something I've been passionate about and involved with since it started. And it started about 2 years ago, actually this week, exactly. And really where it came from was acknowledging that there's different needs that women business owners might have or bring to the table when coming to banking for credit, as well as different educational information we could provide and different mentorships, because sometimes as women, we don't put our hands up to get that information. So the bank decided to launch 2 years ago this program, which is a 3-piece program. And the first piece is access to financing. And so the commitment was to inject $3 billion of financing through women-led or partially led or owned businesses across Canada. And right now we're 2/3 of the way through that and injecting those funds into Canada. And I think it's a little different than some of the other programs out there, because when you actually come and are part of the program, we flag the account so that when we're we're sending into credit for review of the deals, it actually goes to a different department, a different credit department that has a second set of eyes, maybe from a female perspective. And so I can say confidently that they're definitely taking more consideration into different needs for women entrepreneurs versus maybe just looking at the 5 C's or the basic things they would look at. Mm-hmm. And then the second piece would be mentorship. So a group of executives across Canada have been providing mentorship opportunities and discussions across Canada to female entrepreneurs, more on a one-on-one or 1-to-10 kind of ratio, or have been before COVID. And then the last one is more local boot camps is what they've called them, or initiatives. And what that piece is really building the education and the conversation with women, just to make sure that, you know, they know where the resources are. We're partnering with local community organizations that are already existing, and just making sure that we're really trying to be present out there in our different areas across Canada, in our different towns or cities across Canada, to be there and support individuals. And then a big piece of that also is the online access to educational information. Through the website of the Scotiabank Women Initiative, you can have access to free resources, free tools, free business planning. We partnered with Dr. Barbara Orser out of Ontario in Ottawa, and she actually provided materials around how to finance your enterprise, how to build a business plan, a bunch of different things that are useful that maybe we didn't know where to look for or have access to. So that's probably a long-winded answer, but it's definitely, the program is meant to, you know, educate, share information with women, make sure we're giving financing to women, and really being out there in our communities across Canada to support women as they want to build and grow their businesses.
Wow, you know what? I think that's so important right now, and you know, you don't quite often see a lot of that big support from the big banks. And I think I can speak, you know, on behalf of all of us here. We're all entrepreneurs. We all have our own businesses and growing. I guess my question to you, Andrea, what are the key things? I know that with me and with Hugh and Hugh at Home and everything being online, people want to know the numbers. They want to know this and that. And I'm sure too, like if you're a business, that, you know, they want to know your numbers. What kind of finance structure do you need to have, or what kind of online presence do you need to have when going and looking for financial support?
Like, I think the key things are just like any, you know, going through credit. So it depends on where you're at, but the first thing to start with really is a business plan, to really think about your business, where's the value in your business, and we can help you with that. Like whether you have someone you're talking to figure out your business plan, or if you even just speak to a business advisor and it doesn't have to be our bank, any bank, they can help figure out like, what's your business plan, what's the value, how do you want to grow, how do you want to start it out, and that's the first piece of it. And then there's obviously, when you go apply for credit, if you're trying to get financing, there's different ways to get financing, but they're always the 5 C's of credit, just like in the personal world is the same in the small business world. So those are obviously important to go over and to make sure that, you know, your business plan aligns with it. But really it starts with a conversation with your advisor on where to go. And then it is really important to ensure you have a team, you know, you have an accountant that you're talking to figure out that piece of it. The banking, obviously, your partners in your business, how you set up the business, what your goals are, things like that. So I think it does really start with just the conversation. Like, you don't need to come to the bank with, here's my full business figured out. You can come to the bank and say, you know, I have this idea. Those are the best ones. Like, I love hearing, we have this idea, how can we do it, right?
Yeah, you know. And how has the response been? Like you said, you're celebrating your 2nd year actually this week, but how has the response been?
It's been really good. And I think that how we've measured is really like the amount of enrollments, like we've increased. We've also been engaged on different levels. I know here in Winnipeg last year, if you've heard of the Essential Platform Conference, that was the first conference ever. And we were the keynote speaker, I guess not the keynote speaker, but we were the key title sponsor for that event on purpose. And it was the first women organized event in Winnipeg. And so that was really exciting. Met a lot of female entrepreneurs there. and just carried on the conversation. We did a virtual lunch and learn in the fall, where again, we had through COVID, some successful women winning through COVID to have the conversation around like, what's going on? How are we going to get through this together? So to me, it's really, the successes really come out when we partner with local women organizations. For example, Winnipeg Enterprise Center here in Winnipeg, or Paro in Thunder Bay, and across Canada they have them, and we're really seeing the synergies. And you know, women have this unique ability to connect with one another and carry it through. So I'll meet someone at one group and I'll go to another group and everyone knows the same people, especially in Manitoba. I find we all know the same people. So as soon as you kind of hear from someone and they want to share their experience and they want to share the best practices and help people succeed. So I think we have a great connection that way. And so once you start putting those people together and they hear that people are here to help you, it really kind of just flourishes the conversation.
Yes, no doubt. Well, yes, Andrea, Winnipeg, we are 6 degrees of separation, probably even less. And some of the ladies will laugh at that one. Well, I'm going to open it up. Ladies, do you have any questions? I mean, because you all are business women, you all run your own businesses. So Andrea's here as our kind of financial expert, whatever. You're smarter or you're richer than you think.
Yeah, that's the Scotiabank slogan, but or anything in general, really.
Well, yeah. Andrea, I would love to, I'm Linda Drozdowicz, nice to meet you. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about the local boot camps. Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, so what we've tried to do is, and sometimes we do partner, we actually have a national partnership now with MNP. They were trying to figure out a kind of a women-sponsored program, so we've worked with them. And what we try to do is host, you know, at least 2 a year, where we try to find topics of interest. So some of the ones we've done, and then we invite all of the women that we know who own businesses. We try to get the word out through different partners. So for example, one of the first ones we did was Women in Ag. And we had a speaker who, you know, very young female speaker who came and spoke to us about how she built her business. And I think it's probably fine if that was smack dab, like the mustard. So she came and she explained her kind of story. And then not only did we have her story, then we had, you know, someone around financial planning, an accountant. We had different people to kind of provide some resources and education. And then other events that we've done, I would say, so we did do one in Winnipeg and one in Thunder Bay, and we've done them across Canada, but the ones I was involved with recently were, how do you plan for retirement being a woman in business? You don't usually think about how are you going to retire. So we did an event where we had a specialist come in. She actually flew in from Vancouver, and we did breakfast kind of learn with Women's Enterprise Center here in Winnipeg. We did it jointly and had the conversation around like, what do you need to think about? What steps do you need to plan? So it's all around trying to educate and help provide information that would be useful. The one in the fall, we partnered with, I'm going to say the wrong name, but we partnered with like a food, the Academy Hospitality, the one that does Pizzeria Gusto and the merchants and all that, and they actually created a special menu for us. And so we had about 50 people sign up, and we had meals delivered to them around, because it was a virtual one. So we did like a virtual lunch and learn meeting in a box. And then I hosted a panel with an Indigenous leader in healthcare, a lady from Academy Hospitality, and an MNP accountant, to talk about, through COVID, how have you had to shift and pivot and change priorities, and what cash flow things should you be thinking of, and different, like, just useful things. So the boot camps are really, we try to get the word out through our partners, whether it's Winnipeg and Winnipeg Women's Enterprise Center, whether it's MNP, whether it's BDC we partner with, whether it's CFIB, like, so it really just, any partners we can will say, hey, let people know this is free. We want to just help educate and provide information that's valuable for them. So those would be, we usually, like, I think we're going to do another one January 12th here in Winnipeg. And the last one was October 26th. So we do try to do quite a few of them.
Well, that's great.
Is there a way to get on a mailing list for that, or is it just, oh yeah?
Yep. So you can either, like, you can email me if you go on, and I'm sure I can give my information, or Tracy can give my information.
Just everybody chat their info in the chat line.
Yeah, I can put, my email in there. Basically, to sign up for women, like for the Scotiabank Women's Initiative, you don't have to do anything except for we consent to sending you emails. Obviously, with the Newcastle requirements, we need to make sure that you're agreeing to us to contact you to let you know about the events. And literally, when you come into the bank, if you already are a Scotiabank client, we can just add it on to your profile saying, okay, now you've been flagged. And then you'll get a quarterly newsletter, which will tell you about the events, or local events we'll make sure to send out to you. So I can put my email address in there. And if you want to be added on, for sure, we can definitely add you to the next one.
Thank you.
Yay. Hi, Ron. It's good to see you. Hey, nice to see you. So does anybody have any other questions for Andrea? Finances, planning. Jordan?
Andrea, I had more of a kind of shout out for you because I was on recently a guest on the Startup Canada podcast, and you guys sponsor that through this initiative, I think. So because they have two different podcasts, and one is for women in business, or women who have a startup, and that one's called Thrive Podcast through Startup Canada. And so when they first were doing the introductions and stuff, they're saying sponsored by Scotiabank. So it's interesting too to be able to see you at a local level and also kind of at that national level, and have all these different touch points with different women-led initiatives, like the big conferences locally you're talking about, and then like also content developers. And, you know, being here today on Tracy's show too, it's cool to see all the different touch points that I think sometimes we think of banks, like you're saying, as kind of these big organizations. But it's cool when you're seeing you supporting all of these different initiatives that are really that kind of grassroots level to help women in business in a broader sense. So not a question, but more of a shout out to some of the good work you guys are doing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you see that, because it is definitely something at all different levels of the bank we're trying to do, right down to local, down to walk into your branch, or, you know, go to your local, anywhere, like go to a local event and you see our name there. So we are trying to be more present in all levels. So that's great. Thank you.
Andrea, I was just wondering a question too, like it always pops into your mind now that you obviously have worked very hard and you've got a very big position. For yourself personally, how have you seen sort of the climate, the environment change in the financial business and the financial arena, which has been and it still is predominantly male?
Yeah, I think definitely interesting question. I've been a VP now for the last 11 years. My first VP position was when I was 27. And I think that I was almost a little naive going into it at first. And I think sometimes there definitely were some unconscious biases or some differences entering into kind of a male-dominated one. But a lot of the time I always associated it too because I was young also. So I kind of didn't put as much weight onto it. And then as I progressed through my career, I definitely saw some changes. But I think that for the most part, they've all been really welcoming and really encouraging. And I know that although there's a lot of opportunity to still increase at a high level in our organization and other organizations, female executives, I think it has come a long way. And I think for me personally, when I came to Scotiabank about 3 years ago, just seeing the importance to make sure that we're present in the marketplace and that we're speaking out. I don't think I realized before that how important it was. And I remember one of the first days that I started, they did an interview on, women in leadership, because we have a group called Women in Leadership at Scotiabank, and they interviewed me, and the responses, and going to one of my first branches, and I had, a 40-year-old branch manager say to me, "I'm so excited that you're a woman," because to be honest, I think there was maybe one other vice president in Winnipeg that was a woman, but I was the first one from outside the organization. I was the youngest one. And I saw in the employees and other women who want to succeed how important it was for me to actually be stronger than maybe I thought I needed to be, right? And to be more present and to be more vocal. And when something like the Women's Initiative started to say, no, like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this really well, because it doesn't matter, like, it's important to me, but it's more important to the other people in the organization. So I think that, yeah, it's been male dominated a lot of the time going through the different companies that I've worked for and the experiences that I've had, but I can definitely say it's progressing. and quite quickly. I think it's progressing, and everyone has the same focus on making sure it is more diverse and inclusive, whether it's women or any other type of inclusivity that needs to be important right now. So yeah, so I think that I've had experiences, but they've all been really good in progressing to a great level. And I do think it's strong. It's really important that anyone is in a female leadership position to make sure you're almost stronger for the rest of the women out there.
Yeah, you know what? I think, yes, we all kind of look to role models. And when you can see somebody in person being successful, it always makes it a little bit more real and I think attainable. And then, you know, speaking of accomplishments, I'm going to open it up to Jordan. It's so good to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's been forever.
Yes, I mean, someone to, again, you know, taking the initiative, having a dream, working, you know, toward it, see it come to fruition, doing all of these cool things. I'm talking about Creatory. And when Jordan first opened it, nobody really kind of knew what this was all about, but she created something so powerful and so meaningful in the artistic community. And right now it's been devastating because artists have had no place to go to except their homes. I know that they've had to pivot. And Jordan, so what has 2020 brought to you, girl?
I would say the first lockdown for us was excruciating for me, especially. I had never thought I'd ever have to close my doors. And at that time, they didn't really give us any idea of an idea of how we could be open. And it was just, we're shut down. Even my artists, they couldn't come into their studios. And then when we started to learn more about the virus, I said, you know, you're in your own studio space, go to your studio, get your work done. That's good for people's mental health. I have all kinds of rooms with studio spaces. Some of them have more than one artist. They're all really spaced out. So people started to come back, and some of our artists have mental health issues that are, you know, harder to get by on. And I'm very strong mentally, and I found it really hard. And then I ended up receiving a Manitoba Arts Council grant for my art practice. It was only $500, and it was to connect with artists online. And it got me into my studio. It got me producing art. I was working on a show then for September at Fleet Gallery, and I froze for probably 2.5 weeks. And I thought, oh gosh, how am I going to do this? So when I received that grant in May, that got me going again. And I was really successful at my show at Fleet. I sold half my pieces. And then I started working on my show for Gas Station Art Center, and it was open only one day. And then we went through the lockdown, and Hugh Conacher helped me hang the show. And I had done a show with him at Not Art Gallery when I was a curator there briefly for about a year and a couple months. Mm-hmm. And so it was a great opportunity. Unfortunately, it's just there with the door closed. But in terms of Creatory now, we're doing really well. People are buying online. I sold 30 art cards today. I mean, it's not much. Sometimes those sales come in and it's just like a $6 card means so much to me right now. But then, you know, last weekend I sold an $800 Diamond Doug Keith painting of a horse. And it's on a payment plan because the person on the other end can't, you know, pay it all at once. So we're working with people to make sure that they're getting their art and that they can continue to do what they love. And I've been doing pictures outside, holding the art up to show people what it looks like, just to build context around the art. Because one of the problems is on social media, you see a little thumbnail this big, and you don't really get to see that it's 5 feet or 3 feet or 2 feet. So kind of bringing the art outside has sort of helped people understand what it is that we have. And I have over 200 pieces on our website right now. It is really hard to put those on there.
you make sure that we have your website gallery there, okay? And so are you taking the art pieces like outside of your art gallery on Adelaide there?
Yeah, I'm taking photos of them outside with Dave Suzuki, who's a photographer. And he's just taking the photos on his iPhone. We're running in and out in the cold. I'm going out without my jacket on.
Well, today's
so
not
I
so
look
bad.
better, you know, and the first post I did, I got a huge response. There were, I don't know, over 200 likes on it or something like that. And to me, that's pretty big. And then comments came in, and almost every post I've done, I've sold something. Last lockdown, I did it, and I just was posting pictures, and I didn't get a response at all. And I've just found myself to become extremely creative in everything that I'm doing. Little messages about the art have helped as well, and lots of stories, and really taking social media, the free resources that are out there, as best as I can, and using them to the best of my ability.
Now, are you still doing the 99 pieces of art?
Yeah, so when my 2 shows that are on right now became canceled, I extended for another month, or for a full month for the one that's on right now. And then I asked my artists if they would like to do a 99 pieces of art on the wall show, which is a max of 99 pieces. And within 3 days, the show was full. I had all of the art files and everything. They're actually all on our website now. I launched it a little bit early by accident yesterday. Whoops. Technology is not always my friend. And so they're on there right now as a preview. And everything is under $200, and they're all fairly small pieces. I think the biggest piece is 36 inches, and the smallest one is 6 inches. And there's a range from $60 to $200. And that's, I mean, I'm seeing it sort of as a fundraiser to keep us going, even though we don't call it that. But, you know, the $1,500 pieces are not selling. So, you know, trying to package an idea. And I stopped doing the 99 pieces of art on the wall show a few years ago because it was so huge and we had such a good response. But it was frankly killing me. So there was just so many people packed in the room, and it was like pieces were coming down the wall as they were sold and being packed up and then out the door, you know, like I was like on the run, and I was just like stressed and trying to enter the credit card information properly. And there were a few times where I made mistakes and things like that. And it was just intense, and it was on me. And so I decided to make a change. And then when I brought it back just a couple of weeks ago, it was like, boom, full. And I mean, the response, my artists are so supportive. They're all so wonderful. And they just want that opportunity to be out there and be seen. And, you know, sales are great too, but just to get the message out that they're artists and sort of have their name on our wall and stuff like that. It's a really good feeling.
You've always been such a big supporter of that whole community. And you yourself are an artist too as well, and you do some amazing work. So, I mean, especially now when, like, we're in lockdown until January 8th, so we're not going anywhere. So I would suggest going to Creatory and checking out some of the artwork. I mean, that'd be a great Christmas gift. And you know, Jordan, she'll run out to your car and give you your piece of artwork personally. You know, all within the COVID regulations. But oh no, it's so good to see you.
It is good to see you too.
I guess, ladies, we all heard the news. We're going to be like this till January 8th. My heart is broken. I don't know. I was going a little stir crazy when it was just like not even the end of November. Susie. Well, and I don't think after January 8th we'll all be running outside of our houses either, right?
Oh no. Yeah, no, it wasn't a surprise to see that come down today, but yeah, it was disappointing for sure. But I think we're all feeling that. So, I mean, like you said, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. And what about your kids? Are they going back to school right after Christmas break, or are they in that bubble where they have to be?
Yeah, so 2 of them are in that bubble where they're going to be home for the 2 weeks after. And we've decided to keep our third home as well, because there's no point in sending her with the other 2 at home. And
her possibly bringing, if she was to bring anything home, like there's no point to it. So she was a little bit sad about that, I think, because she wanted to see her friends, but I explained to her, like, here's why we're going to do it that way. And I think that she understands, obviously, but it'll be a good day when they can all go back to school for sure. They'll all be really happy about that.
Yeah, no doubt. I know, it's just like you're just going to have to pivot. I did want to mention though, besides Jordan, doing all this for her artists and, trying to bring some holiday cheer, there are so many other people in the community that are still doing great work. I had mentioned before I let you girls in to the show about this Yvonne Peltier, who's been for 25 years making these gift bags for the families of babies in the neonatal unit at St. Boniface Hospital over the Christmas season, and how this year she had to pivot. She said, oh my goodness, we had to have all of the items that go into the gift bags at the hospital 14 days ahead of time before even getting to package them, because they all have to sit there and she's just all the hoops that she was going through, but she was still doing it. And then there's this other woman, Carmela Wade, that's collecting 2,020 pairs of pajamas for 2020, and hopefully, giving a warm hug to all the needy school children that don't even have pajamas. And it's, and somehow, some way, they're all making it work, and there's so many other people. So it's kind of heartwarming in a sense that way. I don't know. What do you think, Kirsten? Miss Pollyanna?
Yeah, I think the truth of the matter, there's so many stories like that we never even hear about. Mm-hmm. And I think the motivation to do that is not to be it's just so generous and giving. It's not to be talked about. But I wish we could almost recognize more individuals who are making a difference and completely giving from their heart this time of year. We don't get enough opportunity to recognize them. And I think this year with COVID, I think people are slowing down a bit, and life's so different that I think hopefully more of that will happen. That's my wish. And I have to say, Jordan, I love the fact that you're so keen in your enthusiasm to all the artists. My daughter loves art and considers herself an artist, and so does Charlotte, absolutely, her daughter. And
I'll have her get a hold of me.
Yeah, and I know there's such a healing piece for those who do struggle with a mental health concern, and art is such a mindful way for them to work through some issues, or that's been my experience, what I've seen. So I just think it's fantastic. You're working so hard to support your community.
Thank you.
Aw. Oh, and Charlotte, I have to mention, I do love your project of 31 days. Although now with the news that we're here to, it's going to be hard to be what you're grateful. So she's got this little project going. Charlotte, you explain it. It's cute. It's wonderful.
Oh, thanks, Tracy. I'm just doing 31 days of gratitudes on my social media, just because it's something that I've been working on, and I know Kirsten and we work with a lot of families that we talk a lot about gratitude. So I just thought I need to put my money where my mouth is. So each day I've just posted something for you to think about, and lots of people are commenting to me personally or just on the social media. But it's just another something to keep us mindful and grateful in this crazy time. Hey, and I wanted to give Jordan a shout out. You know what? When you said that you were financing, allowing people to finance purchasing of art, you just put me right back into my 20s when I had no money. I'm a huge collector of art, and I especially collect local. And I used to beg art galleries. I'm like, please, I really need that painting, and I have no money. So like, you can keep it. I'll give you like $50 a month till it's paid off. And I remember owners would laugh at me, but they saw how passionate I was. And so thank you for doing that, because I know there's a lot of young people out there who want art.
Definitely always an option.
Yeah. So.
Aw,
Thanks.
great. Oh, and Margot, I know that we had chatted before, and you're going to start 2021 with a new kind of look too, with Get Started and the podcast. So, I mean, I guess there are some good things in 2020, right?
Yeah, gosh, you know what? It's so like everything that everyone's talking about here is just that attitude of flipping the switch on creativity. Like, and you know, Jordan, the name of your company is perfect as creatory, but everything everyone's talking about in this conversation is how did someone do something and change it and be more creative to pivot to the times that we have to be in now. And I think, you know, we're fortunate that in this group of people here, we have that piece of our brain that can work on overdrive, right? And can go into, okay, this doesn't work, but like creatively now, how do I change and make it work, right? And some stuff was already happening, like you're mentioning with the show for us, Tracy. So with the podcast, we're going to be doing a podcast next season. And we've got a whole video shoot all lined up. Obviously, with not being able to do interviews in person, that's going to like take away a little bit from this whole video shoot we had planned to expand the show. But we're finding kind of creative ways to still use that and still make the quality strong. And, you know, like Tracy's got an awesome studio that she has built in this time that she's in now, you know, so we've all been able to use that. And I think that's really like a testament to, yes, and you can see Tracy's cool different angles, but testament to all of you, really, right? Like all those things you're describing, Jordan, and even, you know, Charlotte, with your personal endeavor of posting things, it's all of us finding our own little ways to be creative and kind of stay sane. And, you know, on a personal level, we did, I challenged my friends, but other people have joined in who are just in my kind of network to do a 2K a day challenge from now through the new year. So just going outside physically to do any kind of activity for 2 kilometers minimum. So if you ski soon, great. But for now, everyone's just walking. And because otherwise, like a lot of us working from our homes, if you never have to leave the house and then you're done work in the dark, especially where we live, it becomes hard to leave the house. And then we all kind of talk a little bit about that mental health piece, right? And we all have different ways of coping with that. I kind of said to my friends, let's just try and get fresh air. And you know, people said, well, what about a treadmill? And I said, no, the 2 kilometers outside is the whole point. Breathe the fresh air, go outside. And it's funny now because people will do it without, just because they feel like they have to, because there's this accountability within our little group now. And we'll get messages every day in the group of people saying, I really didn't want to walk today, but I did it. And, you know, I found $20 on the street, or I didn't want to do it. And I saw these beautiful Christmas lights that someone had put up. And, you know, so there's always like this positive story from it. So I think it's just encouraging you and your network to find those creative ways to stay connected. And it's hard. It takes energy to be creative, but there are small ways to do it that can go a long way.
Well, so that leads me to Rana. Rana with her gorgeous hair. Thanks to castor oil. I will never, you know what, that is my standout moment in 2020.
Castor oil? Yeah.
Castor oil, everybody. Andrea, that's the beauty tip. Hey, we're no salons until January 8th. So go.
Perfect. I'm taking that tip.
Yeah.
It works.
Susie, what's gonna do? Susie, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
with your bangs?
when you know, Jordan, you're amazing. I mean, I just literally want to go on your site right now and be like, what can I get? Yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible. But hey baby.
Aw.
Yeah, but I think just kind of what Margot is saying, you know, when you find the solution, like when you're in that moment and you have to come up with a solution and you have to be creative to basically survive, it's encouraging, right? It gives you a little bit more confidence. It kind of pulls you out of that little hole that you were kind of in. It gives you that little bit of a push that you've kind of came up with something. Because I think that when you're in the hole, and I don't want to call it the hole, but I am, because people are calling it that, just when you're kind of stuck, when you come up with solutions to resolve something or to solve something, it helps you. It helps your confidence. It helps you emotionally. It helps you mentally. So, I mean, everything's kind of interconnected. But I'm bummed. I was hoping to, you know, not be stuck like this for another month. But it is what it is. You know, I think the goal is just we all stay safe. And you know, I am kind of curious about vaccines, though, and I don't know how everyone else is kind of monitoring.
Yeah. They've launched them already in England, and I think the states will get them within a few days. And I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Susie. There's talk that we're going to get something in a week or two. I'm not too sure.
Oh, sooner than that. Like, I thought it was right away.
Yeah, I think they said in the press release that they're planning for early stocks to come in. And to get it to the most vulnerable first, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. They were just talking about that on how it's, people are some are looking at the vaccine as the light out of the tunnel and everything's going to be great, but then others are saying, well, that's just the light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel is very long and dark, and that'll take a long time. And but talking mostly about the States, it's about trying to convince those that don't want to take the vaccine. And, I think there is going to be a lot of controversy and a lot of people anxious about whether or not to take it.
Yeah.
Am I
Well,
correct?
that's kind of what I was suggesting. There's just a lot of dialogue, and there's a lot of conversation, definitely happening in little silos, but they're happening, about, well, I wouldn't let my mom take it. I'm going to wait for this amount of time to happen to make sure. So that kind of makes me a little bit nervous. I think that conspiracy theories and, like the woo stuff, like, let's just do our research and figure it out. But I mean, to be honest with you, I'm laughing, but you really can't mock that stuff because people are genuinely concerned, right? Like, has there been enough research? Would there be side effects to this? So it's not the concern that I'm mocking. It's just the fact that, there's not a lot of other outs, right? Like, it's the vaccine, it stays, like, there's not a lot of solutions to this issue. So we'll see what happens. But I think I'm kind of paying attention to those conversations a little bit because I'm curious. Like, I want to know what would make somebody, like, encourage someone to get that vaccine. What's holding people back? It's pretty interesting. I don't know.
Do you think this conversation, and it could be a very hot topic? I mean, even amongst your friends or even amongst your relatives. Like, I'm kind of like thinking of, how the States were when we had that whole show about, between Biden and Trump and the people that were so such strong believers on one camp and the others such strong believers. I don't know, like, and this will actually play into households, right? Correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Because if all of you don't buy
If you have kids, you've already hopefully educated yourself on vaccinations. There are tons of information and resources out there right now that are available for people to understand. And there was a great Twitter post from a microbiologist and infectious disease expert that explained it for, like, lay people to understand how this vaccine is going to work, which is very cool. So I'll share it on Winnipeg Mom today. But like, kids get booster shots in grade 4. You get the HPV vaccine through schools here in grade 6. Like, there's no shortage of information and opportunity to educate yourself on this topic. So Dr. Fauci was in a media clip last week talking about why we're here at this point. And basically, it's because of all the science, not woo-woo, as Rana would say. It's because of science and evidence-based research that we are so fortunate to have those resources and that evidence-based research to be where we are today. So it is really a feat of science. There's no mystery here. It is science that we should be thankful for as to how we got here. So I think that's great. And we should be very thankful to the scientists and to the nurses, doctors, researchers, everybody who's working so hard to help us with this vaccine.
Agreed.
Yeah. No, it is amazing. I've never, and I don't think anybody in our lifetime has seen something like this happen so quickly. So true enough.
I'll be keen on taking it. I have type 1 diabetes. I'm high risk. I work with a lot of people. I'm in line. I'm ready. Give it to me right now. Like, I'm so ready.
It's interesting because it's definitely a thing that's come up at work and business too, because I think the conversation that we've had is, can we make it mandatory in a business setting? And that's the part that's, I'm pretty sure we can't, but it is you mentioned kids get different vaccinations. My kids, they're just at home, they get their vaccinations. So it might just become that, but that is a bigger business kind of conversation. Like, is it mandatory that you have to have it for your employees, right?
No, that's so
I
true.
think one of the things that hasn't been touched on, and I'm waiting for someone to do, or maybe I'm doing it right now, to talk about, is that if you want to look at an industry that mitigates risk, it's the insurance industry, right? So we are looking at COVID long haulers now and all the health effects that are going to be coming out of that. You will soon see insurance industries and their companies stop covering these pre-existing conditions. So if you contracted COVID, you will not be covered for future coverage, right? That is how this industry is going to pivot and be able to save itself from those claims. So look at that, and that will be coming, I'm sure of it, because they will not be able to afford to pay out those kinds of premiums and to pay out those kinds of benefits.
And that's
You're right,
already,
that's how things evolved, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Susie. That's already happened. Yes, the insurers have all pivoted, and so they've definitely, a lot of different wording now has been put into policies. So so things like that. I was going to ask Andrea too. Banks, big corporations, you know, you go to Toronto and all those super high skyscrapers and gorgeous office buildings. I don't see them. I kind of see workspaces in all of those, in the financial world, in the insurance world, any of these businesses. The workplace is really going to look different.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how things are going to pivot. We currently, we normally have in downtown Toronto 1,200 employees, and I think about 95% of them are still work from home. And we're completely work from home until January, and now that's been extended. So it's very interesting, and even like, is it necessary for them to go in, or is there modified schedules? And it's not even going into the office because you can space. It's access to the elevators, access to the restrooms that are in these old buildings that can no longer, you know, you can't even meet requirements. So, and jobs are changing. Like, I normally am every other week on the road between Calgary, Thunder Bay, Ontario, Winnipeg, and all of a sudden since March, I'm here. I'm in my home. Like,
I know.
It's very different being, and the role I was in previous to this, I was a VP of operations for Canada for an insurance and group benefits company. And you know, I was traveling every week. So it's very different how it's going to change everyone's worlds, and technology is luckily come a long ways. So it can help out. But I don't know if we'll ever be exactly the same, to be honest, or if people will be comfortable in such large groups anymore at this point. So it'll be interesting. Definitely more remote is coming.
Yes, yes. And I mean, even the conversation that we're having here, I mean, it is intimate, but it would be so much more if we were all like in one room and people kind of bouncing off ideas. So, you know, spinning that off on Jordan, all right, you're a creative person, and being able to, and you know, even in Charlotte and Kirsten's world, to be with the parents, to see those people and to have that personal contact. How is that? I mean, that is obviously going to look a lot different. And, you know, how are we all going to feel when we actually can be in the room together? Are we still all going to be like standing 6 feet apart?
I know my business will be hugely affected if we can't get back together in groups, because we do receptions. They're packed with people, music events, performances, Fringe. We don't know yet if Fringe 2021's booking from 2020 is going to be able to be open for 2021. And what does that look like to us? Are we going to have to do Fringe online? I mean, that's a possibility, but will Fringe do that? And so I'm actually connected to a lot of other organizations within my organization. I support a lot of people, like a lot of people. So I'm just really worried about that. And, you know, every 2 weeks we were having receptions for the last 14 years. And then my 4 years before that at my former gallery was every week or every 2 weeks. So I've been in this business for almost 20 years, and it's such a huge change for me. You know, I was okay with doing no receptions and just having people come in, because I did notice a huge difference in that people were engaging more with the art instead of with all their friends and stuff like that. It was really great.
So they're actually paying attention.
Yeah, and people were buying art, and they were buying art, you know, happily so, and they were happy to see the artist and actually connect with the artist for a long period of time. Because with receptions, you know, you get 5 minutes with the artist, and then you're lucky if you get 5, and you're not crowd hopping as much. So if the artist can be in attendance, I did notice a huge change, and I suppose that is the positive to COVID, that artists were really got to see who their audience was, and explain their art and stuff like that. Like, that was huge. But yeah, all that reception stuff I kind of missed because that was also my social life. I'm a huge introvert, so I felt surrounded by people all the time, and yeah, now it's kind of quiet. But anyway, that's my take on it.
Well, you know what? That's interesting that when you talk about that people were buying art and freely, and maybe that's something that Andrea and Susie can attest. I mean, Susie, you've got this, the great program, Save Manitoba Restaurants, but whole shop local, and I think there is definitely a movement this year that's been started, and I think it is sustainable. Andrea, obviously there has been, you've noticed changes in how people are spending money or not having money. What can you project what will happen in 2021? Still that apprehension?
Yeah, like I think that we're definitely, telling business owners to be resilient and to keep persisting because it's going to come back and the economy is going to come back and people are really showing interest in buying more local. We're trying to support anything we're doing with more local businesses or, the business in a box. And I saw you had UB2. I know Angie as well. And so we definitely are trying to stay as connected as possible with our local entrepreneurs, and people are still wanting to support. And I think that you will see more online, but the more we can get out there, the online options and abilities. I'm also a board member on MTC, so very familiar with the arts side and how we're having to try to figure out to pivot there and like how can we still support our local artists in different ways, or different programming options or different interactive ways to get them back into talking to artists and meeting with artists and things like that. So not that that's on the local business necessarily, but it still is like the local artist business, and how do we keep supporting them? So I think that people are much more interested in doing that, and the more we can figure out how to leverage technology and our digital presence is just critical. And I know that besides staying resilient and using your network, pivoting to digital and pivoting to different options that you need to look at right now is just critical. You really need to take a look at your business as a small business owner, any business owner, any person right now, and figure out how can I be more digital and how can I engage with customers more digitally and leverage those resources I have, and whether that's, reaching out through LinkedIn or Facebook, or Instagram or anything.
Well, and Margot and Susie, right? Because Susie, you were saying too, there's some restaurants that aren't online or some small businesses that just don't have the capacity. And then Margot with your Tech Manitoba, right? That's a huge issue. Tech isn't easily available to a lot of people.
Yeah, certainly we have that conversation often about digital literacy and access and broadband connectivity, depending where you're located. So that's all certainly like on the surface of the conversation that it exists, whether we believe it does or not. There is certainly a huge disparity in connectivity across our province and across our country. But, one of the interesting things too that Andrea and Jordan both touched on is this like need to kind of change what we're doing, right? And really pivot to that online world. But what I think is often not realized is how much work doing online events and online, elements to your business really are. So I think, with Jordan, someone might listen and say, well, if you used to have a mixer in person, do the mixer online and just have your artists and have people be able to talk to them. Great. That takes probably 1.5 people to organize it than you had before, which is so counterintuitive. People think I'm doing it online now, it should be easier for me, right? But at Tech Manitoba, our event manager, her job has only become larger, and we have tons of companies asking us tech-wise, hey, what platform are you using? How do you use it well? Like, how do you ensure people actually still have fun and want to come back and are engaged? And can they actually talk to each other, or are they just watching and then they're distracted and they're not actually paying attention? Now, it wasn't worth all our time organizing. And all those things are very valid. And in fact, what we've found is it takes more human power than it did before to run a virtual event, even if it looks the exact same as what an in-person version would have been, of course, with whatever technical changes you would be making. So that's a misconception. I think a lot of people managing teams or giving advice are saying, you can just do it online, do the same thing online. It's not that simple. Technologies also can be expensive for the platforms that really are the good ones to use for this stuff. And learning how to use those platforms can be a full-time job to do it well, and so that's a tricky aspect that I think leaders and managers really need to think hard about before kind of prescribing to their teams or thinking they can just like easily do it. And that's a hard thing to say, but it's true.
I would say it's not.
And I think too, that there's a lot of, especially for small businesses who are strapped for resources, time and money. There's been a lot of ignorance around digital and, e-com and moving to those platforms and that technology. And they figured, I don't need it. I don't need to learn it. Well, now they're late to the game, right? So they're struggling to catch up, and they're finding that it's a challenge, as Margot's saying. And, it's one of those things where, oh, how hard can it be? And it's just like, well, actually, it's quite hard. And if you want to do it well, then it takes an investment in your business to make sure that you have those resources and that technology. And of course, if you're looking at an online event, what is the one thing that you always have at an event is an AV or tech support? Well, where are you going to find that in this day and age to be with you or to walk you through these things? Like, all of those things take resources, and they take time, and they take money. And if you weren't investing in those before, you're kind of slow to the game now, and you're trying to catch up. So the red flag for 2020 would be, you can't stop investing in technology, you can't stop investing in digital, and you can't stop investing and learning about your business, right? Business changes so much, and if it's one thing that we've all learned this year, is that change is constant, and you don't want to wake up one day and be on the losing end of technology and advancement, right? You have to keep going, and you have to understand how to best serve your customers and where they need you to be.
And Susie, you make a great point when you said about AV in an in-person event. You still need that exact same AV budget, if not possibly more, for a virtual event. So don't think that you're like getting rid of an AV cost. You might actually be increasing it, which seems unfathomable to some people, but it's actually what we're seeing to have a good version of your event.
Well, and we're all here. Okay, so we're 9 people chatting on this live show right now. What people don't see is the team of 5 or 6 that Tracy has running all of this behind the scenes right now, like Graham and everybody else. Everyone thinks that we just hopped on Facebook and this just happened. No, that is not the case at all. This takes a lot of time, a lot of prep, and a lot of energy to put this together on a regular basis. Never mind if you just wanted to try it once and see how it goes, kind of thing. It takes a lot of time and energy, for sure.
Yeah. I can say that with Tech Manitoba and World Trade Center Winnipeg, we've collaborated to offer e-commerce training for specifically setting up a Shopify store. So if there are people like you're talking about, Susie, who are realizing now, oh gosh, we really need to get our product online, and it's a physical thing you can sell through a tool like Shopify, which is, there are others you can use too. That's just one of the good kind of preliminary ones to get you started. Well, and it's very robust as well, so you can grow on there. But so we're offering workshops under $50 for a 3-part intensive workshop where by the end you can go from having no store to having an actual store online.
Amazing.
So look that up on either Tech Manitoba's website or WTC. So the World Trade Center Winnipeg has it on their website too.
Add that in the chat box there, Margot, because I'm sure there's going to be businesses and for sure, Andrea, make sure that your emails on the chat box too as well. And feel free, ladies, to share any of this information on your social medias and Facebooks, for any of your friends that are interested. Linda, you've been sitting and listening now. Oh, and I forgot, because I asked everybody to bring their favorite holiday drink. I was wondering, because I was getting a little parched. So, you know me.
I was just.
It's almost 4 o'clock. Oh, okay.
It's almost 4 o'clock. Oh my gosh. Cheers. I was thinking, Andrea, when you were talking about, leveraging, that so many people are working remotely, like you said, like 95% of people are working remotely, people are online, people are.
Oh, lost your audio.
We're in these, I've got art, like, it's not art. And to me, that would be a great fit for, going into 2021, is promoting local art. Like, if you look at all of our screens, we have art behind us, and, promoting, people buying things to have behind them, and being able to market and saying, this is a local Winnipeg artist. I think that'd be a great, look at it.
Are all those yours, Jordan? What? You're muted.
Muted. Yeah.
Sorry, that's all my work behind me. I'm actually in my studio. I'm not in our gallery right now.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. Like, the reality is what everyone was saying is, change is here. Like we're not going anywhere anytime soon. This is this is a reality. I'm super appreciative of the fact that I get to see all of you at 3:00 on a Tuesday and learn from amazing people and these creative minds and talents. It really is phenomenal. I wouldn't be having this experience if it hadn't been for COVID. So I am kind of grateful for this right now, Charlotte. I'm very grateful that I get to be in a digital room full of amazing, strong leaders. So, I think there are possibilities. And as Margot was saying, the fact is that entrepreneurs have that ability to switch our mindsets and change and grow with the time. So, I see incredible possibilities coming from this. So thanks, Jordan, and Andrea for sharing all that you're doing right now, because it really is very inspiring.
Aw. Charlotte? Oh, I'm just envious because I see your photos on Instagram too. You're playing with little sparkly filters. Linda has that filter too. See, I know. And Rana, I love all those pictures, throwback pictures with your friends. There, and all your many Rana looks. Oh my goodness, girl.
I know. It's because there's no new ones. So every time there's a new memory, I feel everyone's doing that. You're going to your Facebook memories, being like, "Oh, that was a good time."
Yeah. Yes.
So, but yeah, it just reminds you. And I had a good conversation with some of my girls last night, just about we're not taking it for granted next time. But it's. I think there's a lot of appreciation for good friends and good connections coming out of this. And you kind of look back and you're like, man, I loved being around these people. But to be fair, I think you also may note some people who are probably energy stealers and people who maybe weren't the best for you. So I'm also finding that to be something that's happening, which is kind of nice, So if you're forced into it, no big deal. But just going back to the conversation, just because I want to make a point on something we said before about how it would be when everything kind of came back. When it was code orange, before it went back to code red, people weren't totally off. I mean, restaurants were open, albeit socially distanced. I was starting to have meetings out, and people were pretty normal. They weren't so actively hugging each other, maybe. Maybe they weren't so quick to throw your arms around someone, but it wasn't. I didn't feel it totally different. If anything, I felt people were super excited to be together. So just on that point, I think there will be changes, but not as drastic as we believe.
Yeah, well, I hope so. And Kirsten, what are you drinking?
Well, I was sitting here very quietly because I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to bring wine to the 3:00 queue, and I have my nice little glass of wine, and then I'm like, shoot, nobody has wine. Did I get this wrong? So I'm really glad to see you have your wine. Yeah, I agree with Rana. I don't think things are going to be going back anytime soon to the way they were. But yeah, I wasn't surprised about the extension today and how things are going to roll out until the 8th. And I'm sure possibly beyond that. But yeah, just staying positive and grateful, like Charlotte's been posting. And yeah, I'm very lucky my family is all healthy and happy, and we haven't been horribly impacted by this. And I'm not saying that lightly because this is horrible, and but we've been okay. So
yeah, well, no, it's always good because I know you're kind of the one that always looks at the silver lining or the good things in it, and it makes it seem all better after talking to you.
Well, I can't take my head and start going down those long dark roads, and it's going to be a while. I just get, I can't go there. So I'm just taking it day by day and staying positive. Yeah.
Yeah. And Charlotte, you still out at the cottage?
I am, Tracy. I'm hanging out here.
So jealous.
It's and I was, it's interesting because what Margot was saying about the 2K a day. I find that I'm more active out here. I go for a walk every day. I was sitting way too much at home. Like I would literally go from the bedroom to the kitchen, get my coffee, go to my office, and stay there till I went to sleep. And at least this gives me a little bit more activity. But can I add one thing about what you were saying earlier? Because when we were talking about being online and the difference between being in person and online. For Kirsten and I, we spent a lot of time one-on-one with families, like in person. And you can read people really well when you see them in person. And it gets a little bit trickier to read them online. And so part of what
you're only
when
seeing
Kirsten
here. You're not seeing the full body language.
Yeah, and so in our training and as well as in our peer support groups, there's usually 2 of us, and one's just there watching to see what's going on with a person and checking in, because it's really important just to see, if someone's struggling and they're trying to hold it all together, that, we can go into a breakout room and have a one-on-one conversation and just see where they're at. And it's really appreciative. So I'm always saying to people, who are working on Zoom, pay attention to what you're seeing, and especially if they go off camera, just say, hey, everything okay? I'm just checking in with you. And that part's really important, just because people are struggling. Like the increase in stress and anxiety and mental health issues is on the rise.
No, I mean, we'll always have these conversations, I think, for a long, long time. And especially now, how people react differently too, right? With the news of another more than a month, to go, of being in isolation, especially for those that have mental health issues.
Yeah, and I just think that isolation piece, getting creative of how you can support, your friends and family who are, living alone or, a little bit isolated, just try to make an effort to include them in something. I know I was texting my cousin yesterday about what we were giving each other's kids. And then I was like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we usually have dinner once a month. And so you kind of go into that, and then, we got to get together on FaceTime and, that conversation, but physically set a time to see them. Yeah. So that kind of stuff.
Good idea. Wow. Well, you know what? Thank you so much, everybody who's got a drink in hand. Cheers to all. And so next week, Tuesday, we'll be back at our regular time at 11:30, and it will be our last show of 2020. We'll discuss what 2021 looks for the Hue virtual chat, because I don't know. I don't think we're going anywhere. I'm not going to have Susie and Rana on my set yet, quite, but soon. Oh, and Andrea, next week we're going to have Kelly from Royal NTC. So I know that, let's not break the news yet. I know that they have a Christmas treat, so I want to talk about that and how so many of the different arts groups and stuff like that are doing their thing. So that's why I was so happy to have Jordan on today. And and that's a good discussion, what our arts and culture look like, because that's a huge, huge community, and it's part of us. It's part of what makes Winnipeg Winnipeg. So we'll have some of those people on and seeing how we can spread some more cheer and support them. So
got some great ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much, Andrea.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you. So good to see you, Jordan. Bye. Love you, Susie.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Linda.
Bye.
Bye, Kirsten.
Hi, everyone.
Bye-bye.